best land in the world. So I came to America with the Mauritania, and when I came with the Mauritania, it took me only 4.5 days, and I got to New York.
A ship only took 4.5 days?
Yeah, because they broke the record that time, the Cunard Line Mauritania. When I came to, that's just about the time where Lindbergh flew over the ocean.
What year?
Around that time, And when I came to New York, I was not really impressed in New York, but it wasn't as clean as the town I lived in. So but when I saw all the stores and all the businesses and people and streetcars and escalators and all this stuff, I was very impressed with those high skyscrapers, what they call them, and so on. And then I saw the New York City, and I didn't stay there very long, just a few days, and I came to Chicago. When I came to Chicago, and they invited me, my uncle came to get me at the railroad station there. Then they didn't fly those days, and it took 24 hours for the railroad to come to Chicago. I came to Chicago, and I came to Roosevelt Road, and I saw them was so busy with, stores and tremendous amount of people. In the evening, people used to go for walks, and food. The food, there was tremendous amount of food. The first time I ate ice cream was on the boat, and I ate so much ice cream on the boat that I got sick on the boat just from eating ice cream, because they gave you all you want. Then I came to Chicago, and they rented, and then we rented an apartment, and was a two-room apartment with a Murphy bed in there. And then I got one of those overnight beds, and that's how we lived. It was a kitchen and a living room, and I paid $22 a month to live down there.
Why did you pick Chicago?
Huh?
Why did you come to Chicago?
Because my mother's family, a lot of my mother's brothers lived in Chicago, and that's the reason I came to Chicago. Then I joined the Maccabee Club, and I played soccer football. So every Sunday, I came here on a Friday, and I got a job, and I started the job on a Tuesday.
How did you do that?
They found a job for me. I was a tradesman. So I came and I worked for Atlantic Brass Works, and they gave me I got that job, and I was there. And after about 9 months, they made me foreman. Although I couldn't speak the language good enough, but I got along. And I had about 10 men working for me, and I'm still not even 20. I was 18 years old.
Did your relatives work in this Atlantic Brass Works?
No. There was somebody said that this guy will hire me. They hired people, so I went and got a job. It was on Damon Avenue and Harrison Street. At that time, they called it Ruby Street and on Harrison Street. I got this job, and I was there for about 7-8 months, and I took over. I became the boss over it. The fellow who owned it, he had enough confidence in me, and he gave me this job.
Were there other Jewish immigrants working there?
No, I was the only immigrant working down there, and I was making there I was doing machines work, and we had a plating. We were plating nickel, and we were making hubcaps for the automobiles, and then we had the radiator caps with the thermometer up, so we used to tell you how hot the water got on the automobile. And so I did that. I was in charge of it, and after that, the Depression came in, was in 1931, and you couldn't find a job. But in the meantime, so I got the job.
Did you keep your job during the Depression?
What?
During the Depression, did you keep your job?
Yeah. I didn't make much money. I was making about $17, $18 a week, and I was, and I got this job, and I used to work a whole week and Saturdays, every day except, and Saturdays I'd work a half a day. When I was doing this kind of work until I learned, I got a job at Perfection Gear Company, and I learned how to cut spiral bevel gears, and after I was there for a while, they put me in charge of their plant. I was the general foreman, and then I was superintendent, then I was general manager up till 1952. I worked there, and then, and by the way, while I was working those places, I went to school to the JPI, the night school, and I learned to learn English. And while I was doing that, on Saturday and Sunday, I used to go see movies. I'd see movies, and I'd sit through 2-3 movies at a time in order to, I learned the English by watching the movies. And I remember the first movie I really was impressed is Al Jolson as Sonny Boy, and that's the first time the movies, the talkies came out at that time. That was probably maybe the third or fourth movie was made a talking movie.
Did you ever see the Jazz Singer?
Huh?
Did you see the Jazz Singer?
I saw the Jazz Singer, but Sonny Boy, I believe, was the first one. I saw the Jazz Singer. Then I started seeing a lot of different movies and different comedies and stuff like that. I saw, what's his name? I forget the name. Some of the old movie comedians, and I saw John Barrymore and Ethel Barrymore and Wallace Beery and all these. They were all movies afterwards. And when then I learned the language, and it was easy for me afterwards because I could talk to anybody I'd go see and so on, and I really enjoyed the country. And then I wouldn't have given this country away for any money in the world. To me, this country was everything I ever wished for to be and so on. And this is part. I'm just giving you the few of the things what I did. Then I was picked for the All-Star team, soccer team, for the United States, and I played in New York in the Polo Grounds, and I played in St. Louis and all over the country. And what else?
What made it easy for you when you came here?
Huh?
What made it easier for you to come here? Because your mother's brother was here?
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I got a visa because they only allowed about 50,000 people to come into the country. They wouldn't allow everybody to come to the United States. and I was on that quota, and they let me in.
Mhm.
And then I lived here about 5.5 years, and I took out my citizenship papers, and and I became a citizen of the United States.
Mhm.
And and then I worked for Perfection Gear, and I became general manager of the whole plant. And all through the war years, I was $1 a year man for the government, because I looked over all the captured the army stuff, like different tanks and vehicles of everything, so I can see whether the German had better than we had. I used to go to Detroit, to the arsenal, and once every 2 weeks, sometimes once a month, and look over everything but they captured, to see whether they had anything better than the United States. And when I done that, I ran the plant, and we were very vital. I was in charge of the government plant, I mean the Perfection Gear, and the government watched it very close because there wasn't many gear shops, and they were afraid for sabotage.
Mm.
And so I ran that, and I helped design the gears for the 2.5 and the 5-ton trucks. When Ramo went through Alamein, our trucks were breaking down because our gears wouldn't stand out. They were stripping these. So I designed that, and I didn't know at that time that these gears would be that good. I found out afterwards that it stood up and never even break that, and then there wasn't even my gear broke down because it was so good.
Do you remember how you felt about America going into the war? What in World War II and Korea and Vietnam? What did you think?
Well, naturally, when America went into World War II, I was for it because, as a matter of fact, I registered to go to the war, but they deferred me because the important job I had, so I got deferred, and the men who worked under me were also the key men. They were also deferred, and because of kind of the job I was holding,
With the government?
and the skill that I had. So they wouldn't take me. They just had me here, and I done a lot of work on these. We shipped, the shop I was running shipped at least 5 gears on every vehicle was made in the United States, truck gear and stuff like that.
Talk about